knows that James Comey lied to Congress. It's as clear as day. And this judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling. And the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. We believe the attorney in this case, Lindsay Halligan, is not only extremely qualified for this position, but she was in fact legally appointed. And I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order. So maybe James Comey should pump the brakes on his victory lap.
Don't overestimate the power of forgiveness.
Don Corleone, this deal with Nobiliari can make you one of the richest men in the world. Your whole past history and the history of your family will be washed away.
Well, you know, we are on the right track as our very own president sends us comms using spiritual Street Fighter 17 memes like you saw in the intro. The daily press of information being forced on the public is working worldwide. Military tribunals, treason, obliterating the deep state are just a few ways they are sending comms our way. We're going to look into how this is all working together for good. The Godfather 3 role in all of this. Oh, man. It's pretty interesting, to say the least. You do not want to miss this one today. I just want to thank many of you that are out there following us on Rumble, 500,000 plus subscribers. We don't advertise that YouTube. YouTube did not allow my original channel to come back. I had to repost all the videos one at a time, and many of you have found it. But I will let you know, those that make comments that say, oh, you got your channel back. They did not let it back. And by the way, they still take videos down that they don't agree with, like a recent interview that we did. They said, nope, you can't do that. We don't agree with you. And they still do not allow free speech on their platform. So that's why we continue to support Rumbles to such an extent. I also want to remind you, we have the At Sea with LT Freedom Voyage 2026. It's going on the starting out in Fort Lauderdale, day one, and we're going to be heading to Puerto Rico. And we're going to have Grand Turk, Turks, and Caicos, San Juan, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, Half Moon Cay, Bahamas, and we're going to finish off in Fort Lauderdale. Folks, you do not want to miss this. We're going to have a great time together going over everything that we've been on. For the past 8 years, it seems like just so long. And it's great to be with other folks that watch the And We Know channel by the hundreds. It is going to be absolutely amazing. We hope to see many of you there. And so I wanted to show you this clip first.
We have breaking news from the Pentagon. The Department of Defense says it has received, quote, serious allegations of misconduct against Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Now, it's important to note, Kelly is one of the 6 Democratic senators, all of whom served in the military or intelligence community, who now say they're facing heightened threats after President Trump accused them of seditious behavior, punishable by death, because they posted a video encouraging service members to refuse illegal orders from the administration. MS Now's Julia Jester is also in Washington for us. Julia, what can you tell us about these allegations?
Well, Chris, we found out through a post from the official Department of War account, Department of Defense, saying that they received these serious allegations about Mark Kelly and said that a thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative measures. And these are violations, they are saying, of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, what they are citing specifically as potential violations of that in that code is a prohibiting of actions intended to interfere with the loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of the armed forces. Any violations will be addressed through appropriate legal channels. Now, they said that comments would be limited due to this being an ongoing matter, but we just heard from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who expanded on this initial announcement, referring to what he called the, quote, seditious six making that video you mentioned. Now, Mark Kelly, in that video, it's a mashup of various lawmakers talking about this, and his exact quote were, "Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders." He's spoken out about this in addition to this video in the press several times since. But Hegseth is noting that 5 of the 6 individuals in that video don't fall under Department of Defense jurisdiction.
But Mark Kelly could be called back to active duty. So we were told, reach back and give yourselves a big pat on the back. You did it. Secretary of War heard many folks. And it looks like that could be the first step to a court-martial. I'm going to get more into that, where they're asking these crazies are asking the military to disobey orders from the President of the United States. And they really are in big trouble. One of those that thinks that he's going to escape all of this would be old Comey himself. You know, the federal judge has thrown out the case against James Comey, claiming that the U.S. Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, was invalidly appointed. Well, amazing, because Here Today 2.0 says the process is the punishment, but Florida, there's no running from. We all know this would not be easy. We have to continue to fight. Mike Davis just now regarding the rogue judges trying to derail James Comey's case. Well, James Comey will face accountability, whether it's in the Eastern District of Virginia or in Florida. Check this out.
James Comey faces dismissal due to alleged procedural missteps. A judge will rule by Thanksgiving on whether prosecutor Lindsay Halligan was unlawfully appointed to her role in the Comey case. What are you expecting in the Jim Comey case?
So just a reminder, listen to this.
Lindsay Halligan has shown time and time again that she has overwhelming evidence that James Comey lied to Congress about his involvement in Crossfire Hurricane, the biggest scandal in American history. We've seen the evidence. She's produced it in response to James Comey's various motions to try to derail this prosecution. The evidence is overwhelming, but we do have Democrat judges in this courthouse in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., who seem to be going out of their way to protect James Comey and to try to kick this case. Lindsay Halligan is doing everything appropriately. We've looked at the evidence, we've looked at the transcripts, and if this judge kicks this case on for whatever grounds he comes up with to kick this case, that will be appealed. But James Comey will face accountability, whether it's in the Eastern District of Virginia or the Southern District of Florida.
Oh, yeah. Just a great reminder for all of us. So they're going to appeal the tossed out indictments. That would be Assistant AG Harmeet Dillon. Dillon without prejudice, which means it can be brought again. Comey came out and said, "I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence and a reflection of what the DOJ has become under Donald Trump." Your time will come, Comey. Time to appeal and refile. So other characters, getting back to this treasonous act. President Trump retruthed, folks, again, military tribunals. If your justice system has been corrupted, how do you bypass the corruption? And he posted this, and it was from a guy named R.D. Steele, 1974. And he said, the military is the only way. And President Trump, again, retruthed that. Wow. So it's the repost of that meme. Says Ultramagna Dean Erickson, the military is the only way. Where have I seen that before? Well, Q26. Think about it logically, right? The only way is the military. We've seen that. We've talked about it over and over again, but the reminder has to go, especially for those that are new into all this. President Trump cannot make it any more obvious than this. Military tribunals are coming, and the only way is the military. Patriot Underground said, I think it's fair to conclude at this point that we aren't going to get to justice within the civilian system. Not like that's a surprise. The other way is the military. The question that remains is how much more of this the public needs to be subjected to before the White House drop the hammer. I know that it's about showing everyone that the system is corrupt, which has been the rationale for the ongoing scripted movie. But here's the thing. We are now at 89% of people demanding transparency on the Epstein files, and a vast majority no longer have faith in the justice system. Only 18%, a slight uptick from 14% in 2023, which was a historic low. Despite the optics of partisan division, that's why unity that's what it looks like. So therefore, it begs the aforementioned question. Have we not achieved the consensus the movie was designed to manufacture? Personally, I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can trust the plan, but you can also voice your dissatisfaction with the lack of public accountability. There are two. The two are mutually exclusive. Now, remember this from the Q board. True rule, the people have the power. Rise up and demand they be removed. At some point, military generals will act with the will of the people simply because their soldiers are those same people and have no choice. We stand with you. We are monitoring the situation closely. Stay safe. God bless. And also remember this. It must be done right. It must be done according to the rule of law. It must carry weight. It must be proven in the court of law. There can be no mistakes. Good things sometimes take time. Attempts to slow and block the inevitable justice will fail. The Democrats' election interference in 2016, Clinton-Hussein illegal FISA, the D's election interference in 2018. We had Mueller, the D's election interference in 2020, the impeachment, the projection. These people are sick. We, the people, are the cure. Now let's get to the intro, shall we? With The Godfather 3. The rubber duck nailed it. Trump's out of the ordinary attire. If you're looking at your screen, if you're listening, he's wearing what appears to be a maroon or red colored scarf similar to what was worn in the movie Godfather 3. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Michael Corleone was in the movie stating that. I have a feeling that Trump is doing just as Michael said. Right? So many people see President Trump with folks and they say, oh my goodness, he's with the enemy. Remember, we're watching Godfather 3. In a sense, similarities that are playing out. Now, I'm going to bring you over to the Rubber Ducks on X, some of the things that he showed here. I thought it was pretty interesting. Boom. Q mentioned referred to Godfather 3. How many times? Do you guys know? 27 times. Are you ready? Are you sitting down? The climax of Godfather 3 of the movie takes place during an opera scene in Sicily, when Michael's daughter Mary is killed in a failed assassination attempt on Michael by a Vatican assassin's bullet meant for him. The assassin's character in the movie, Mosca, uses a 6.5 millimeter Carcano M38 carbine rifle for the hit. Wait for it. Lee Harvey Oswald used a 6.5 millimeter Carcano M38 carbine rifle with a telescopic sight on November 22nd, 1963, to take out President John F. Kennedy. Of course, that was not what happened, but that's what they told us. That was the story they gave us. And amazing, because you're looking at this proof right here. It's what they try to show everyone. Same thing they put in the movies. It's what they show in your face. It's how they use this mind control against all of us. And now it's going back on them, the things that they used against us. It's not going to work anymore for them. They know that they're in big trouble. Also, did you know in a voiceover at the beginning of Godfather 3, Michael Corleone is reading a letter to his children asking them to attend a ceremony where he is being honored for his charitable work? The only wealth in this world is children. more than all the money, power on earth. Wow. So there, again, is a reference to the children and the rescue efforts that are being done now. I've got a lot more to cover on this and the treason committed by these snakes in the Democrat Party.
Prior to December 2021, my husband Larry was a healthy, active man with no health concerns or underlying conditions. He was a college lecturer and a successful musician, but that was all taken away from him on the 15th of December 2021. That was the day he received a COVID Pfizer booster injection in Oma Leisure Centre.
Well, that heartbreaking story from Larry Lowe's wife. She's talking because it's too hard for him to speak. Just because she didn't react immediately to the COVID jab doesn't mean you are in the clear. Mysterious symptoms and even deaths are surfacing months, sometimes years later. So you look at this, the VAERS reports show way more COVID vaccine injuries than something as common as Tylenol. And get this, experts estimate only 1% of cases are even reported. Plus, shedding means you could be exposed even if you skip the shot. Now, mRNA vaccines could be in our livestock, even organic. Why are mRNA vaccines different? It's the spike proteins. These proteins meant to train your immune system can interact with blood vessels and platelets, potentially causing clotting or inflammation. Overwhelming evidence shows millions are affected. So what's the solution? It starts with your gut. A healthy gut microbiome is the number one factor in fixing damage from vaccines, antibiotics, and the standard American diet. And the best way to boost gut diversity is kimchi. Studies like one from the National Institute of Health show kimchi's incredible power to restore gut health. But let's be real, eating kimchi daily isn't easy. That's where Bright Course Kimchi 1 comes in. Delivers 900 probiotic strains, live enzymes, and antioxidants in one convenient capsule. No mess, no taste. It supports digestion, energy, metabolism, immunity, and more. The And We Know listeners can get 25% off Kimchi 1 with code AUK at mybrightcore.com/AUK or call 888-317-9941 for up to 50% off plus free shipping today. Now, I'm going to show you some video clips that President Trump actually shared and some memes. Remember that Glenn Beck posted something that President Trump retruthed. Democrats just told our military not to follow the unconstitutional orders while admitting none exist. Why is this a big deal? They knew and know that the message wasn't for our soldiers. It was for the entire earthly leadership. If a video like this were aimed at Putin's military, we'd assume Russia was unstable or nearing a coup. They didn't get good advice. They didn't give good advice, nor weaken Trump. They weakened America, signaling doubt to allies and opportunity to enemies. They are tilling the soil, color revolution. Reckless beyond words, not treason, but a very serious crime under 18 U.S.C. 2387. A law that was written for this exact kind of action. Punishment's 10 years in prison. Those on either side who engage in this must pay a price. Look at this video that President Trump played.
Many are asking whether this was sedition or treason. But there is a third statute, one that fits their actions with mathematical precision. 18 U.S.C. Section 2387. Activities affecting armed forces. It prohibits, and this is word for word, advising, counseling, urging, or in any manner causing or attempting to cause insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty by any member of the military. Penalty, up to 20 years in federal prison. This law is not retaliatory politics. This law is not about defending one man. This law is about defending civilian control of the military, the backbone of the republic. And this law has been violated.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community.
This was a group of lawmakers, including former CIA, speaking directly to the military, undermining the authority of the commander-in-chief, and by extension, every general, every officer, every enlisted soldier down the line. Break the chain at the top and you break the entire military. Break the military and you break the nation. Yes, it's that serious. The individuals responsible should face consequences, censure, expulsion, prosecution, not because of who they attacked, but because of what they endangered. My friends, we are all anonymous, and to my Democrat friends, ask yourself honestly, what will it take for you to leave your party? Because the party you once knew no longer exists.
Pretty amazing that President Trump would retruth that. And also another one, if you're looking at your screen, you're seeing a video meme of these 6 traitors to our country asking the military to disobey lawful orders. And so Elon is out with the hanging. That's right. He's even talking. Julie Donut showed us this. Murderers, where there is unequivocal evidence of guilt, should be hanged, as has been the case throughout history. Prepare the public. They're getting us ready for the tribunals, folks. And here's a reminder on Mark Kelly. You know, he wanted to explain to the military that we have their backs if they can disobey these orders. But then look what happens to those that do not do what the Democrats want if they end up taking back power of our country.
Rachel, we wanted to do something pretty simple here. We wanted to just remind folks that they need to comply with the law and be reminded, and also explain to members of the military that we have their backs.
Donald Trump's going to be gone a couple years. And if you're part of the military that is going after sitting senators, sitting members of Congress, and part of, the weaponization of government, there will be consequences, without a doubt.
There will be consequences if you don't. See, they're saying, oh, we got your backs. But if you don't do what we tell us. Ruben Gallegos says, threatens members of the military, we're going to get you with retaliation. These guys just can't get their act together. And so there we are, the retruthing President Trump at it again. Amazing to show the TikTok from Spiritual Street Fighter 17. Amazing artwork that she puts together. Time to obliterate the deep state. And if you're noticing one of those that President Trump retruthed, what is that there? Right there on his shoulder, do it, Q. Right there. Yeah, retruth. Nothing can stop what is coming. That's another one from Spiritual Street Fighter. And remember your oath. One of those, Grasshopper caught on to, connects directly 541 as the timestamp. That was the time that it was posted by Kirill Dmitriev. And he wants everybody to know, if you go to 541 on the board, the Intel board, why does it take the information going public before justice is served? TikTok, and you get the pluses. Why is the Democrat Party making every effort to block the release? Prevent the release of this information. Where is as? And then you've got the fired, the jailed, and of course, the reminder of the TikToks. Now, check this out about the active duty service members.
Well, we believe it's deeply unfortunate that these Democrat senators made this egregious and completely irresponsible statement. And let's be very clear, Martha, these Democrat senators knew exactly what they were doing. It's not a coincidence that all of them have military or national security experience in their background. They were leaning into that experience to try and give a wink and a nod to the 1.3 million active duty service members who serve in our United States Armed Forces, and essentially encourage them to defy the orders of their commander-in-chief, which is illegal, by the way. Let me be very clear. Not a single order this president or administration has given to our military has ever been illegal, nor will it ever be. This administration respects and abides by the law, and these officials know it. They are trying to sow chaos and distrust, which is a very dangerous thing to do within the military's ranks. The sanctity of our military respects and relies on law and order and the chain of command. And that's what this administration is trying to say. And that's why the Department of War opened up this investigation against Senator Mark Kelly today.
A lot of great work going on with Caroline Levitt. I wanted to show you something else where she's outside talking to the reporters.
The White House is supportive of the Department of War's investigation into Senator Mark Kelly.
Oh, yeah. One at a time. It's all playing out. And these folks are going to be going down finally. Mark Kelly. He's in trouble. So, of course, the other lies out there. Reuters out there lying. Again, the media always playing the lie card. They said that Doge doesn't exist with 8 months left on its charter. It's interesting because right here it says, as usual, this is fake news from Reuters. Doge says President Trump was given a mandate by the American people to modernize the federal government and reduce waste, fraud, and abuse. Just last week, Doge terminated 78 wasteful contracts and saved taxpayers $335 million. We'll be back in a few days with our regularly scheduled Friday update. So speaking of money in our government, this guy that went out there, remember old Mom Donnie? Well, it hasn't been a month since the election, and the communist is already running nonstop ads begging supporters for more money. What happened to free and affordable?
Remember how I told you a few months ago to stop sending us money? You can start again. This transition requires staff, research, and an infrastructure that can meet this moment. Still asking for your help because we need to raise $4 million in total. So January 1st can be the day we start to deliver, not start to prepare. I hope very soon not to have to ask you for money. But until then, I'm asking. Leaves, they are changing. The air, it is crisp. But one thing that stays the same is we still need you to donate.
We need your money. Oh, yeah. These guys. Communists always work the same way. You know, there's a California rep, Young Kim. She went out there and talked about this Zoran Mamdani character in communism that he's bringing to New York.
Thank you, Chairman. It's such an honor to stand here to strongly support the House Concurrent Resolution 9. As a Korean American who grew up in the aftermath of the Korean War, I have witnessed the horrors of socialism firsthand. I always say, if you want to see the difference between socialism and freedom, just look at the Korean Peninsula at night. South Korea shines with opportunity. North Korea is trapped in darkness. Time and time again throughout history, socialism has led to disaster, starvation, imprisonment, and the death of over 100 million people worldwide. My own family lived those horrors. My mother-in-law risked her life crossing the DMZ lines multiple times to rescue loved ones from the North Korean regime. To this day, tens of thousands of Korean families remain separated by a system that tears apart communities and crushes basic human dignity. Now more than ever, as socialist ideas gain traction here at home, and as our nation's largest city and financial capital has elected not just a socialist, but a communist as mayor, we must firmly demand our capitalist free market system which empowers Americans of all backgrounds to achieve freedom, opportunity, and prosperity. I know what America represents because I remember my first glimpse of freedom as a young girl, looking up wide-eyed as U.S. soldiers tossed candy from their trucks. In the communities that I lived, today, as one of the first Korean American women to serve in Congress, that freedom tastes just as sweet. Stories like these can only happen in America. As a member of Congress, I will always fight for the American dream and for our free market system that keeps it within reach for everyday Americans. Thank you, and I yield my time.
Great there from the representative, the Republican out of California. Very dignified. Outstanding to hear this. And we need more voices. Excuse me, like this. Wow, my voice is giving out also as I talk about voices. Good night. So let's go forward to incredible move. The Trump Housing Secretary, Scott Turner, launching a hotline to report illegals. Here we go.
We do believe that public housing should be safe. We believe that. and that's our conviction. A safe community starts with safe housing. If the housing is safe, the community is safe. And we want to take good care of the most vulnerable people in our country. And that means making sure that residents in HUD-funded housing can live their lives in peace and security, free from the horrors of violent crime. That's why HUD today we're announcing a new HUD crime hotline to allow the residents of public housing to call the HUD office of the Inspector General, the OIG, to report criminals, illegal aliens, sex offenders, human traffickers, and those guilty of gang activity, drug distribution, and fraud. We're spearheading this hotline right here for the residents of Memphis, Tennessee. This crime hotline is the latest in a series of action HUD has taken to help the American cities and neighborhoods be safe, including of those who live in HUD-funded housing.
Finally, we're getting the support that we need. It's going to take a slow rollout. You know, the Republican side, that's not always that great. Of course, we continue to push them, and we saw a lot of rhinos play out. But to see the leadership that President Trump has brought has been absolutely amazing. And I wanted to show you something. You know, we've been talking about the Democrats, again, just real quick, asking the military to disobey lawful orders. Well, here's a good point on that real quick before I move on.
Quick message to everybody on active duty right now in the military. Those 6 Democrats that are urging you over and over again to disobey the lawful orders of the President of the United States, not even a month ago, voted repeatedly, over and over again, over the course of almost 2 months, to keep you from getting paid, to keep food out of your family's mouths, because they saw you as leverage, not people. They do not care about you. You understand?
Good point. So I wanted you to see that real quick because you're going to appreciate that one for sure. And that's something, yeah, we've got your back. You need to disobey the orders of the president. But they don't have their backs. They voted to not get them paid. They're just aligning with like a terrorist organization. Oh, yeah, speaking of terrorist organization, President Trump did sign the executive order directing Secretary Rubio to classify the Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign terrorist organization, finally. Trump's order also prohibits financial transactions with them, so much of their funding will likely dry up. I remember that Barack Hussein Obama had them over and had lobster dinner for them in the White House, and they had free reign to do whatever they wanted to our country. It made me sick back then, and I couldn't believe it. And it took a long time, but we finally got here. So the raids are happening. We had Charlotte, North Carolina, the media always lying about those raids. And I wanted to show you this clip as people are grabbing their cameras, they're reporting.
2 ICE raids that took place in Charlotte, North Carolina have went viral. The first one is of a 15-year-old boy working at a grocery store. That is what the media told you. But what the media is forgetting to tell you is that actually this kid was not 15 years old. He's 20 years old, an illegal immigrant. ICE agents went up to him in the grocery store. The 20-year-old put up a fight, ran out of the grocery store, and ICE agents caught him in the parking lot of the grocery store and zip-tied his hands and took him away. But the media is making it out like it's this 15-year-old, this nice boy working at the grocery store, but he's actually 20 years old and he's an illegal immigrant. So yeah, ICE did get him. Another one that went viral is a picture of a man working at a restaurant. It shows 2 ICE agents holding this man down. What the media is forgetting to tell you is that the man that they're holding down actually has a knife in his hand. Also, the same individual has been charged with serious crimes that he committed against a child. He's already committed a serious crime in America. ICE agents go to get him at this restaurant. He has a knife in his hand and he's putting up a fight. But the media once again is making it out the ICE agents are just arresting this nice guy as he's working at the restaurant.
So remember, the media, the enemy of the people, and that's why most of you watch this channel and many other truther channels. You've had enough of the lies and the manipulation that they have against all of us. And so if you go to Charlotte, you know, they have these folks out here, the Charlotte Observer, Charlotte Landscaper says Border Patrol presence affecting businesses, well-being in the community. Yeah.
I'm the owner for a landscape company here in...
Here's the owner of a landscape company in Charlotte, landscaping. So you would think that he'd be excited to finally have the illegals removed. Oh, no, he's covering his face and his eyes and has a hoodie on. He doesn't really want you to know who he is.
Charlotte, North Carolina, right now with everything going on, it's affecting businesses. Overall, it's affecting all businesses. Out of 5 trucks, I'm running 1. I'm by myself. I mean, people are scared. This is hardworking people. No criminal record, no anything. They're just working people. People are hiding. And you see what's going on. You see the news, but the news doesn't show everything. It's like the stuff that
The news doesn't show everything. That's right. This guy's losing his mind. They're taking my people, the people that I pay chump change to, that they're just, working for me. He won't even show his face. People are hiding. Also, just in case you didn't know, they're also hiding in the schools. Charlotte, North Carolina after-school program suspends its operation after it's exposed for shielding illegal aliens from federal agents.
We need more assistance down those, at those entrances. Hi, Donald. This is Lily from Our Bridge. I'm just calling because we had reports that ICE is probably on campus. We were wanting to see if we could make rounds.
Inside, please.
This after-school program in East Charlotte has been a safe space for immigrant children.
Yes, in the front entrance.
But today, there are reports that Customs and Border Patrol agents are approaching.
And I'd like people down at this entrance as well to just watch that door.
Staff rush to lock down the building.
They do not have the right to be on this. This is private property.
They say this is the second day in a row that immigration enforcement has showed up.
We're walking up right now to a TPP sighting here.
In a statement to the Times, the Department of Homeland Security stated it did not target a school or daycare and denied trying to enter or make any arrests near the building. Across Charlotte, more than 370 people have been arrested so far, sending large parts of the immigrant community here into hiding.
A lot of families, even regardless of legal status, they're afraid and they're staying home.
Why don't they just take the $1,000, get the free flight home, and do what the folks have done for so long? Wait in line. Nope, they want to skip ahead of all the folks doing what they need to do to get into our country. They want it their way. They want their SNAP benefits. They want our tax dollars. They want us to work our butts off so that we continue to have all of that given to them. And we've had enough. We've had enough. I've got a lot more to cover on this in Minnesota and some more information on them stealing the seats using these illegals, the Democrats. Hang in there. Addiction recovery takes more than just time. It takes energy, clarity, and hope. And no matter how broken you feel, healing is possible. And there's a way to restore your brain, your body, and your spirit. At New Spring Wellness, your brain restoration program addresses the physiological changes in the brain caused by substance use, aging, and chronic stress.
It literally, those cravings for me, it was a constant. Every second I was awake, I would wake up in the morning, okay, what do I need to get done today till I can go get my alcohol? And it got to the point where I started drinking earlier and earlier, and to where it just controlled my life.
Their brain restoration protocol reduces cravings, supports mental clarity, and restores energy, giving you the strength to take back control. At New Spring Wellness, they approach recovery with both a medical and faith-based approach. Through Jesus Christ, they find hope, redemption, and the strength to overcome. With brain restoration and faith in Him, you can step into a new beginning. Your past does not define you. Through Christ, all things are made new. Give them a call at 573-577-3400 or go in the description box below to newspringwellnesscenter.com/and we know. Start your journey to sober living today. So, Minnesota, the most corrupt state in America, and you cannot convince us otherwise, as judging grades. The judge in Deep Blue Hennepin County overturned the guilty verdict of Abdelfattah Yusuf after stealing $7.2 million from taxpayers. The ruling could now open the door for other fraud. So $995 million, that's how much Somalians in Minnesota stole from American taxpayers to fund terrorists in 5 years, without the federal government knowing or doing anything about it. Remember, the Biden administration wants the IRS to know about every $600 transaction that you do. Remember that? You spend $600. Oh, we want to know what you're doing with that. But those guys over there can steal $995 million and they can send it off almost $1 billion. Send it off to support these terrorists. And we keep wondering why we're so heavily taxed and why many of us are working 40 to 80 more hours a week, overtime, weekends. Families, parents, husbands, wives are going out to try to make ends meet, working. Children are coming home to empty homes, and they have done all they could under the direction of Satan himself to all of the demonic forces to destroy the family. And then they're importing those that don't believe in Christ. Listen to this from the Somalian trader.
So we are sick and tired of the president waking up one day and deciding to put forth falsehoods and demonize whole communities while the ignorant people that support him.
That's right, you're ignorant. You're ignorant. How dare you expose all of these folks flying into the country and not assimilating? How dare you expose them for stealing all of our money and using it for their SNAP benefits so they could live for free and not have to go out and work long, arduous hours like we do, like our sons and daughters do, our grandkids do? How dare you point this out?
Then take the lies that he's spreading and use it as a fact.
Take the lies and use them as a fact. Take the facts and use them as lies, basically. So this thing who married her brother to get into the States continues to run her big mouth. Old Ilhan Omar, looking like she could fit right in there with Star Wars, one of the characters there from the bar scene.
No workers out here. Look at this. This is ridiculous. Bro, it's usually 1 million people out here working.
No workers. Charlotte, Carolina, the ICE came in and the folks are running, and all these construction sites emptying out. Brian Cates said, I said on my show, most people have no idea how deep this goes. North Carolina is a red state. It can't be that bad there. Listen, there's a hidden world. You're not allowed to see it. There are over 50 million illegals in here already. Almost half of them are involved in illegal jobs being run out of sight, or like this one work site, it looks legitimate. But it's not. Charlotte, a criminal syndicate, is running an underground network of entire businesses founded on illegal, cheap labor. You understand? It's hiding in plain sight, but it's underground. It takes ICE showing us to expose it, to suddenly help people realize, hey, how many illegals are there around here anyway? A lot more than you think. Remember a few months back when the ICE raids were happening in Los Angeles and all of a sudden the locals were flabbergasted how easy it suddenly became to drive to work? Remember that, folks? We were showing the pictures before where the traffic is just bumper to bumper, red streets everywhere. You can barely get to work. And then all of a sudden, folks are driving to work like, wow, it's so nice. How many illegals are there in LA? A lot more than you think. What do these millions of illegals do all day? You think they sit in an apartment doing nothing? Of course not. They've been put to work. They're working at jobs. And the people they're working for are serving a whole lot of money. They're saving a lot of money, using their far cheaper labor over the U.S. citizens. You're not allowed to see how many illegals are actually in your state or how many are working for your local businesses while they are getting housing and EBT SNAP assistance with your tax dollars. Trump's getting ready to shut off their EBT and their SNAP, their bennies, and removing their housing assistance, and we just saw that. And when Trump does this, the greedy folks out there that set all this up, that imported this new slave class, are going to watch in horror as their precious mass replacement migration reverses itself. And about 20 million of these illegals get out when they can't get any food or housing assistance any longer. You're not going to recognize this country by January 2029. You know, as I'm reading all this, I always think, well, how do they get around all of this, the enemy? How does the enemy work its way to get us to forget about all of this and keep the illegals here and just go about our daily lives? And I always say they start wars. They create enemies and they say, oh, look at the enemy, look at the enemy. And then all of a sudden they beef up the military industrial complex. They make something dramatic happen like 9/11. And the next thing you know, everybody joins together in America. We forget about all the problems and all the things that are going on and we go off to war. Where do they get this playing out? Well, all the politicians working together to make sure that they stay in power, using the illegals. They don't want us to see that. Well, the Dems are panicking after Wesley Hunt proves illegals gave them 18 stolen House seats.
Census manipulation that Democrats have been using to influence American elections for years. In 2018, Republican leadership, including the president himself, called for a citizenship question to be included in the 2020 census reports. To no one's surprise, when the Democrats took control, these requests went unanswered, and the question of citizenship was waived. But the fact remains that the concept of sanctuary cities and radical blue states ignoring immigration law and using the illegal population to manipulate the lines of congressional districts is in fact unconstitutional. Not only are there severe constitutional concerns from the inclusion of illegal immigrants, but the Census Bureau admitted to having made several, quote, errors in their 2020 census report. Convenient, seeing that as in 2020, Donald Trump was on top of the ticket. In 2020, the Bureau undercounted in primarily deep red states such as Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Texas, all red, while overcounting in radical left blue states like Delaware, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, and Rhode Island. This egregious error led to many states being denied proper representation in Congress and the Electoral College. So much so that these errors cost Republicans not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 seats in the House. In addition to the 2020 miscounting, including illegal immigrants in the census has improperly granted radical left blue states 12 additional seats in the United States House of Representatives. It's a total of 18 seats gained. That is a huge problem, and those are the facts. Mr. Mayfield, thank you so much for being here. Sir, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. You, sir, are a seasoned litigator who has practiced in matters ranging from complex commercial litigation to constitutional and administrative law. In your expert opinion, and I want you to really speak about this in long form because I want this recorded, should illegal aliens be included in the apportionment process under the 14th Amendment?
The Supreme Court has never directly addressed that, Congressman.
Mm-hmm.
For apportionment purposes, as Congress has interpreted it, the Supreme Court has held that it currently applies to all people, regardless of citizenship. There is certainly an open question as to whether or not, if Congress were to direct the Census Bureau to do it differently, as to whether or not that would be legal.
Okay, so in regards to thinking more of a high level, in terms of being a citizen and what it means to be a citizen in this country, and I do believe that being a citizen in this country means that you have the right to choose the leadership if you're a tax-paying legal citizen in this country. If you are an illegal person in this country, should you, under any circumstances, be allowed to vote and choose leadership in this country?
That wouldn't be an expert opinion. As a citizen, I would object to that.
And what about you, Ms. Rodriguez?
I also object to that.
Mr. Miller?
Correct. Citizens should not be, illegal aliens should not be voting.
And that applies to you also, Mr. Young. I'd love to hear your response to this question.
Non-citizens are not allowed to participate in federal elections.
Okay. Are they participating in federal elections?
The studies have shown that there are very few instances in which they have.
So that number needs to be 0. And as somebody who is a proud Texan, we and in Florida have done our best to get that number to 0. And in spite of the fact that I just voted a couple of weeks ago, and we voted with paper ballots that we had to show an ID for that didn't verify my address and where I lived. And then I had to put said piece of paper through a machine, copied it. They gave me another copy. Then they gave me my very proud I voted sticker. And even with those stringent rules, with my daughter, who is 7 years old, was actually with me. She too got an I voted sticker. And guess what? With those stringent laws, we still have illegals voting in federal elections. So the question is not even about what's happening in Texas. If it's happening in Texas, you have to imagine that while it may seem like a minuscule amount to you, sir, that number needs to be 0. And if it's happening in Texas with those stringent rules, imagine what's happening in other blue states that don't have anything that closely resembles that level of redundancy to ensure that the person that voted in that election is in fact a citizen that has an address and has an ID. And with that, I'll yield back the remainder of my time.
How about that? Moving forward, President Trump has been talking about the money. Despite the massive amount of money being made by the United States of America, hundreds of billions of dollars as a direct result of tariffs being charged to other countries. The full benefit of the tariffs has not yet been calculated, in that many of the buyers of goods and products, in order to avoid paying the tariffs in the short term, stock up by purchasing far more inventory than they can use in order to avoid tariff payments in the short term. That heavy inventory purchase is now, however, wearing thin, and soon tariffs will be paid on everything they apply to without avoidance, and the amounts payable to the USA will skyrocket over and above the already historic levels of dollars received. These payments will be record-setting and put our nation on a new and unprecedented course. We are already the hottest country anywhere in the world, but this tariff power will bring America national security and wealth, the likes of which has never been seen before. Those opposing us are serving hostile foreign interests that are not aligned with the success, safety, and prosperity of the USA. They couldn't care less about us. I look so much forward to the United States Supreme Court's decision on this urgent and time-sensitive matter so that we can continue in an uninterrupted manner to make America great again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Trump puts this truth out about the tariffs and money being made by the United States with a 12:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That would be 0015 military time. You go to Q15, Ultra Magandine Erickson pointed out, there are more good people than bad. The wizards and warlocks inside term will not allow another satanic evil person control of our country. Realize that Soros, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Putin, etc. are all controlled by 3 families. The 4th was removed post-Trump's victory. One of the families is the Rothschilds. Manafort, remember all of this was put out there. So Godspeed Patriots, Soros is targeted, controlled by the Rothschilds and 2 other families. And then, of course, the Q263 drop. Fly, Roth, fly. Soros is targeted along with the Rothschilds family that has been, that's actually funded him. It looks like President Trump is targeting Soros and letting the Rothschilds know it's time to fly, Rothschilds, fly. Wow. All this on the money front. And of course, I've been reminding you that silver and gold guys have been climbing ever since we started interviewing Dr. Kirk Elliott. It's been absolutely amazing. And I encourage you to go watch our interview. And he gets into how gold is the largest official reserve and more in our last interview. And he's at andweknow.com/gold. It's in the description box below. You click on that link. You can have a conversation with him or somebody on his team, just like I do, and they will take care of you and pray for you also. I mean, when I started, I think it was $18 for an ounce of silver, and now it's well above $48, $49, $50. And man, we've just been so amazed at our IRA as it's been climbing. So the chart below shows a clear chronological pattern. Trump 1.0, almost no inflation. Biden, runaway inflation. Trump 2.0 comes in, and low inflation. The media conclusion, Trump's created an affordability crisis. How dare he do that? So remember, all of this is playing out day after day. I just wanted to show you this real quick update, too. It looks like Ukraine officials are agreeing to the President Trump peace deal, per ABC News. It's massive. Terms have been agreed to, and the Ukrainians want Zelensky to head to Washington to make it final. Now we'll need Russia. Can he do it by 26? Blessed are the peacemakers. Quote, the Ukrainians have agreed to the peace deal. There are some minor details to be sorted out, but they have agreed to a peace deal. Army Secretary Driscoll has been speaking with the Russians. So I'm sure that this is going to be playing out day after day for many to see. And I wanted to conclude with Ripcord. Q Plus posted a video of the Trump dance on Truth Social at 9:55 p.m. Last night. That's 21:55 military time. 21:55, dated September 11, 2018, says panic in D.C. King and Spalding hired last week to represent Sally Yates. So panic in D.C. Yet another post hitting a panic D.C. drop. We've lost track of how many times he's done this in the past week. But let's just say it's happening. It's amazing. One post after another has been flying off the shelves, and it reminds us again of where we've been and where we've headed. All of these posts by President Trump are not by mistake, folks. He doesn't just retruth things from the Q board just for fun, right? Nothing can stop what's coming. TikTok, time to obliterate the deep state. Remember your oath, and so much more. And the connection is so crystal clear when he uses those timestamps perfectly with others who use them, like Kirill Dmitriev, reminding us, why does it take the information going public before justice is served? TikTok.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, once again, we are amazed by you and your work and how you've continued to show us those leaders that you've put out in front to explain how things are playing out behind the scenes. We thank you for the reminder that we do not have to rely on these liars from the media to explain what's going on, but we relied on the Word of God day after day to fill us up with the Holy Spirit, to give us the eyes to see and hear directly from those leaders as they continue to communicate with us. And we ask that you continue to help us in talking to our friends and our family members all around and more as we go into this amazing time at the end of 2025, watching one person after another being exposed for their crimes and watching them try to escape is pretty interesting. And so we continue to look for and ask for you to provide protection over those that lives are in danger for exposing the enemy as we watch them get obliterated. And we know that you have put this all together and you are perfect and have the perfect plan. And in the end, we know that you always win. We thank you so much for your Son, in whose name we pray, Jesus Christ. Amen and amen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are glad to be back, and I got a little bit of my energy back to continue to push forward and give you some intros and more information as we get it here at And We Know and our team. We ask for continued prayer, folks, for us as we continue to provide these videos for you and so much more. We're looking forward to many of you that are joining us on the cruise. If you're thinking about it, please jump on before it closes, okay? For now, this is LT Semper Fi with And We Know, signing out.
Knows that James Comey lied to Congress. It's as clear as day. And this judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling. And the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. We believe the attorney in this case, Lindsay Halligan, is not only extremely qualified for this position, but she was in fact legally appointed. And I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order. So maybe James Comey should pump the brakes on his victory lap.
Don't overestimate the power of forgiveness.
Don Corleone, this deal with Nobiliari can make you one of the richest men in the world. Your whole past history and the history of your family will be washed away.